The Women Deliver 2019 conference was officially opened on Monday at the Vancouver Convention Centre, which attracted young people from around the world. The day was characterized by a media orientation and training, youth pre-conference, and later proceeded with an official opening plenary session, including 3 African head of states, the Canadian Prime Minister, and young leaders. President Uhuru Kenyatta of Kenya, Saleh Work Zewde of Ethiopia, Nana Akufo-Addo of Ghana, and the Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau, all promised a more equal and just world for both men and women.
For the first time in the history of Kenya, an opportunity to serve not just in government, but in positions that traditionally were never held by women. We had a woman Minister of Defense. We had a woman in charge of the public service. We had a woman in charge of foreign affairs, a woman in charge of health. As a result of that, in my second term, 2 of those women were actually elected governors in their respective states because people saw the capacity and the ability of these people.
Not enough movement is being made by the 52% of the Ghanaian population that are women to be able to be in the position to make these decisions. The cabinet that I have, some 30% of them are women.
The meeting, however, has engaged a broad spectrum of voices, including indigenous populations and young people, to bring together diverse voices and interests to drive progress for gender equality, with a particular focus on maternal, sexual, and reproductive health and rights.
We have a parity in the government. We have prominent women in many high positions currently in Ethiopia. But for me, the work has just started. We cannot be the trees hiding the forest. If people think that the job is done, then we have a big problem.
The Prime Minister of Canada, Honorable Justin Trudeau, promised to make a better life for Indigenous women in Canada and other developing countries.
For too long, Indigenous women and girls have experienced violence at a rate that is staggering when compared to non-Indigenous women. Just over a month after forming government, we announced the creation of a national inquiry into missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls following the recommendation of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. An inquiry that we launched based on the steadfast advocacy of families and survivors. We promised Canadians that we would start this process, a process that would ultimately chart a path for the future.
The president of Women Deliver, Kaja Everson, urged young people to use their power to change the world, while calling for more investment in women and girls.
We know that a gender-equal world is healthier, wealthier, more productive, and more peaceful. In a gender-equal world, everybody wins. But we are in a time of pushback against women's rights all over the world. But we stand up and we stand strong. We have the power of many and of justice, and we will not go backwards together.
While addressing journalists, the Women Deliver Director of Communications, Sarah August, said journalists have an incredible power to report issues that is underreported.
But even at a broader scale, they have the opportunity to think about gender in all of their reporting and not just issues that might be traditionally thought of when it comes to gender equality, as well as to change the narrative on how we think about girls and women, and not just reporting on them as victims, but reporting on them as the change makers that they are.
Young participants are, however, optimistic to further change the world using their power and influence.
Give us power, we need positions of power. And then secondly, I really want to talk about prioritizing things that have to do with young people and female empowerment. Look, it's enough that you can promise us that there will be gender equality. It's enough that you can say this and that, but we need this reflected. You can't have a national budget and adolescent health is amounting to 0.1%. That's not working.
2019 Women Deliver Conference has come at a time when the support for women and children is more critical than ever. We have seen a lot of young people from across the world who have converged in Vancouver, Canada, to look into policies, not just the international treaties, but domestic laws that we have in our different countries, and come with concrete solutions for the well-being and welfare of women and children across the world. Reporting from Vancouver in Canada, I am Sise.